Well, hello again. This week, I get to sound like a worried old person because, I am. But this week, I get to own it because we're entering into Module 9. We are legitimately at the climax for this course, where we pull everything together as we enter the home stretch in completing your semester research paper, which is due on December 9th. I do look forward to those, but I need to remind you that this project carries a lot of weight in the grading of the course. It is, for real, 25% of your total points, and time is growing, well, we'll just say, short for you to finish these up. Now, Module 9 does some fine work for us. Here we are with 2 weeks to go. We've spent the last couple of months looking up and down at realism, testing it against the fabric of multiple genres and various historical contexts. And as we moved into talking about naturalism, we've kept our ideas about realism alive, understanding how while naturalism is a separate literary movement, it still relates to the concurrently produced genre of realism. Way back at the beginning of our class, I warned you that realism is a lot more complex than authors just trying to mimic the world around them in an authentic way, and I trust that you've come to a similar conclusion with the evidence that we've gathered. Similarly, I hope that you've come to understand that the idea that naturalism is just antisocial realism is a reductive one, which does not do justice to this critical link in our historical shift towards modernism. So, at this point, examining a novel like Sister Carrie by Theodore Dreiser allows us to bring everything together in one concerted text. It makes a lovely segue from our last look at feminist concerns in naturalist fiction, and it offers some direct critique on the realist project by its commentary on moral progress. And we get to do this just before time in this class and your other courses becomes absolutely critical. While I consider this to be the start of our wrap-up, as our module overview notes, we do have some new territory to consider, and that is how naturalism relates to urban settings. This is actually a relatively well-accepted idea, that the natural environment that best demonstrates the themes in naturalism is the habitat humans have made for themselves and clustered within. Partly, this goes back to Zola and the 20 books that make up his Les Rougon Macquart, which he wrote between 1867 and 1893. Many, including the most famous, L'Assommoir, from 1877, incorporate the urban setting as the grinding stone which shapes and determines the lives of the working poor. When he does feature rural life, Zola still depicts this existence as overshadowed by its relationship to the urban. Farms exist to produce food for the masses in the cities, and characters come and go from provincial setting, drawn to the cities by the promise of work, and they return to the countryside, changed by their experiences in the new environment. We see similar things going on in the work of Stephen Crane. Of course, we read his urban naturalist epic, Maggie, but several of his short stories depict the sparsely populated interior of the country. The Bride Comes to Yellow Sky and The Blue Hotel, both from 1898, are good examples of this. In The Bride, Crane's narrative mentions that the desperado who is terrorizing the Texas town, his name is Scratchy Wilson, wears a fancy stitched shirt which was made by Jewish factory girls in New York. In the Blue Hotel, the point of the conflict is that one of the newcomers to the Nebraska frontier expects that the town will be peopled with uncivilized characters. The keeper of the hotel assures him that the town is already putting in streetcars and electric lights, and that it's every bit as civilized as the eastern cities, and, pointedly, this fails to reassure the traveler. So take a look at Sister Carrie and with this particular angle in mind, and about how the city and naturalism go hand in hand. And as you do so, consider whether realism might be said to have any similar relationship, or whether this is a place where we can see yet another particular split between the genres. One last reminder, don't panic, but time is short. So, seriously, make sure you're putting the effort into your final papers that you feel you need to. Otherwise, as usual, if you need to talk to me, you know where I am and how to get a hold of me. I'll see you next week.